97.7. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, we're off. We're ready. It is another brand new live edition of Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome in for your Tuesday show. Safe travels into work, into school, wherever you may be headed on this Tuesday. A lot of fun stuff to get to on a Tuesday as we get you ready for another busy week of both high school and college football, especially in the SEC. And I guess you could say we learned a lot about a few teams on Saturday, but this week, as you really start getting into that when that calendar turns to October, it seems like there's a different feel to all the games, a different level, a different meaning to all of the games. And I guess this week we find out more about everybody else, and we really find out who's going to really kind of be contending in both divisions. I mean, we expect Alabama to be there, and they are there, but we're really finding out more about the LSUs, the Kentuckys, the Ole Misses, the Tennessees, the Mississippi States. We're really finding out more about these teams as we flip that calendar into October.
We are, especially Tennessee this weekend. They will be going on the road against LSU. We'll see if they're looking ahead to Alabama because they are extremely excited about finally beating Florida after losing 16 out of 17 and beating them for the first time since 2016. But they're coming off of a bye week, so now they get a chance to go to Baton Rouge to play against LSU, who it's not been pretty for LSU. And as Brian Kelly said yesterday at his press conference, this is not going to work. We've got to throw for more than 85 yards. With the skill guys that we've got to play better offensively. This will be an interesting kickoff. It's 11 a.m. Inside Tiger Stadium. So we're going to see if Tennessee is the real deal and if they can avoid complacency and or looking ahead. Some wondered if Alabama would look ahead to, taking on ATM and having to go to Arkansas, but they took care of business, even with an injury to Bryce Young, which we have not seen. At least if he has gotten banged up, it hasn't been during a game to the point where he couldn't continue or didn't continue. So we found out a little bit about Alabama's mental toughness, and we found out that Arkansas is a good football team, I think, but they've still got to get a little bit better personnel-wise, and they're playing a brutal schedule themselves. And when Alabama came after an emotional loss to Texas A&M, and Arkansas battled though. I mean, when you talk about being down 28-0, and then scoring 23 straight, and then you're one play away from getting the football back with a chance to take the lead, but Alabama sort of takes your heart. It'll be interesting, really, this weekend to see what shape Arkansas is in traveling to Starkville.
Yes.
Because they've had two tough losses in a row. And Mississippi State's on a high right now because they just got through mudhole in Dirt Neck University and just embarrassing them. And so now they had a tough loss earlier in the season to LSU on the road where they led by double digits early and then crumbled in the second half. So if they want to stay in the Western Division race, meaning Mississippi State, they've got to win this game. So we'll find out a lot about them. And we're going to find out about Kentucky too, because Kentucky really won everywhere but the scoreboard. They just turned the ball over too much. Too many mistakes in the kicking game. They overcame the mistakes in the kicking game against Florida, but guess what? Ole Miss is better than Florida, and they couldn't overcome them against the Rebels on the road. And Will Levis, I know there was an illegal motion penalty, so he nearly threw what could have been the game-winning touchdown pass, but it was called back. And then, of course, Levis held on to the ball too long, got stripped and fumbled again, and had, a couple of just egregious turnovers. Well, really, and it's not a turnover, but he also held on to the ball too long and took a safety. And for a senior quarterback that some of these NFL doofus brains thinks is a top 15 pick.
Will Levis, yeah.
Yeah, to me, it just proved Will Levis is not that guy. I mean, it's just like, I don't know, a couple years ago, and I guess really it was last year going into the draft, people were trying to make Malik Willis out to be a top 10 to top 15, top 20 pick, which I thought was lunacy. I mean, because he didn't show much of anything at Auburn.
No.
And he was good at Liberty. But when he faced high-level competition, because, look, Hugh Freeze has been able to schedule some good teams. When he scheduled them, Malik didn't play nearly as well.
Right.
And so I think finally these fools in the NFL, watched some more film, did some more evaluating, and figured out, okay, he's definitely a draftable prospect, but he's not a top 20 pick. He's not a first rounder, and he went in the third round, which is probably where he needed to go. I think it's probably the same thing with Will Levis. I understand Levis has probably got an even stronger arm than this kid. And, I mean, he's not as mobile or as good an athlete. But, again, I just think Will Levis, when you look at him, that's something I just don't see coaching fixing it, talking about the inner clock in your head. I think he's a draftable prospect. But to me, when you're getting – especially in this era, when they're taking you in the first round, they expect you to play, especially if they take you in the top half. And so, to me, Will Levis is a developmental guy who could still be a really good player, but I'm just not saying I wouldn't invest that type of money in where you're saying he's a franchise quarterback. I think he's a guy that, maybe he ends up being a great player, but also he may be another perennial backup. So I just haven't seen enough out of him. He did some positive things on the road to win in Gainesville, but I don't think he did nearly enough. I think this is a good Ole Miss team, okay? I don't know about great. And Ole Miss made enough mistakes where Kentucky should have kicked the door down and won the game. And it's what I said before the game, Scott. We said it all last week. I said, we're going to find out if Will Levis is a big-time player, because especially since he had Rodriguez back. And I was like, look, man, if he's big-time, he will find a way to win that game in Oxford, Mississippi, and he found a way to lose it.
Yeah. We'll find out about Ole Miss. Are they going to be focused? They traveled to Vanderbilt. I mean, I don't see Ole Miss losing that one, but we're just mentally we got to find out. Can they stay sharp after a big home win? So Tennessee, by the way, crossed off one streak this year. That was that win against Florida. That stopped a streak. But they got to cross off another one. Believe it or not, LSU has won 5 in a row against the Volunteers going into Saturday. They don't play
every year,
but in this streak, LSU has won 5 straight. Crazy ones, though. Crazy endings, crazy finishes. But it's LSU owning this streak over Tennessee.
Well, I mean, again, this is cathartic for the Tennessee fan base if they can continue to accomplish these goals, because if they can win and Alabama, wipes the floor with A&M, which I think is what everybody in this state hopes for, then sweep the leg, no mercy. So the thing is, if they do that, then it sets up a gargantuan game. I mean, they haven't announced it yet, but I would be shocked at this point if that happens, if the game day's not back in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And again, I know they were there for the Florida game, but still, I mean, it would be number one Alabama, because if Alabama beats ATM, I don't see Georgia jumping over Alabama to be number one, because Georgia's schedule right now is weak sauce. And so that's what I'm saying. So Georgia's schedule's weak. They will, even if they win, even if they didn't play well last week and won, even if they turn around and play well and dominate Auburn, which is the South's oldest rivalry. But look, Auburn's what, a 30-point underdog?
29, nearly.
Yeah, it was nearly 30. So even if Georgia wins by that much, they're not going to jump over Alabama, even if the game with ATM is a little closer than people think, which hopefully it won't be. But I just think when you have undefeated Tennessee and undefeated Alabama, at the very least SEC Nation will be there. But it would be hard for me to think that game day wouldn't be there too.
All right. So yesterday, Nick Saban did update us on Bryce Young. Said he's day to day.
Right.
It may be tomorrow. It may be Thursday. It could be Friday before he throws. There's no really timetable on it. But the coach was asked this about a playbook for Jaden Milroe.
Yeah. You've talked about Jalen Milroe's unique skill set. Just given that, is there a thought of maybe putting a package together for him regardless of Bryce's injury status?
We already have one. So.
Okay. We got
Do you want us to put a new one together now just because he might play, or use the old one? I mean, we can do either one. I mean, I'll go talk to the offensive coaches and see. Again, I don't talk to Jimbo on a regular basis, but I'll call him and tell him right after the conference if you want me to. I mean, you guys think I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with our offense and our team? You might as well make it up. I saw today where there's headlines in the paper that, I'm going to keep it a secret what we're going to do with Bryce. It sounded like me making that statement, but I've never said that. But it was there in black and white, so you can make up whatever you want to make up. Look at somebody else's running quarterback and say they should put these plays in. I think that'd be a better way to do it.
I'm sorry, but on Saturday, I put dumbass questions deserve dumbass responses. That's another one, though. I mean, come on. You got to already know as a reporter that they already have a package ready to go for Jalen Milroe.
Well, the better thing or way to do it is, Coach, I know you've watched the film now of Jalen in his first extensive action in a game where he played meaningful snaps. What impressed you the most about what he did offensively, and and then ask and then on that play in the red zone where he threw the pass where it was tipped that there was an offsides penalty against Arkansas. Is that a situation where was that a called RPO where he reads it, or was he supposed to hand it off? Because I know you showed some frustration over the call. Ask a football question like that. Don't ask about, hey, just telegraph it, and are you just going to put Jalen Milroe in now from going forward? Because guess what? If Bryce Young's healthy, you got about as much chance of seeing Jalen Milroe until it's hopefully Alabama 56 and Texas A&M nothing in late third quarter.
Right.
That's when you're going to see Jalen Milroe, or maybe by the third quarter. He's not going to come in there when they're inside the 5 and all of a sudden take a snap, when the game's 14-0. If Bryce Young's healthy enough to go.
Yeah, and Nick Saban telling us that's just day to day. And
they're not going to tell you.
No.
I mean, you're just like, well, look, Dirt Neck's doing the same thing.
Max Johnson has a injury.
Yeah, I listened to a few of his quotes when I could, transcribe it after 1,000 words a minute. Day to day. So he just said he's day to day, and they will find out. He said otherwise they're going to get 2 guys ready to play, which would be almost positively Haynes King or Connor Wedgman, these 5-star freshmen. So that's the 2 dudes. If Max Johnson has a fractured thumb or whatnot, that's the rumor, but nobody knows for sure, how serious it is.
Right. All right, Jeff from the Borough with us on the phone lines this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
How's it going, guys? Boy, I got some dumb reporters down there, don't you? If I saved, I just walked out. This conference is over with. I ain't got time to fool with you people. I ain't going to fool with you. Make something up. Right, what you want. I wouldn't even fool. I wouldn't even answering people's questions.
Well, I think they're smart reporters. They just ask silly questions.
They're stupid. They're stupid. They're not smart, no. Asking questions like that, you're stupid. You ain't smart.
They're not stupid, Jeff.
Smart,
they ask dumb questions, but they're smart guys.
Being a dumb reporter, reading that dumb question, ask some sense. Ask them. You got a college degree. Have some sense. Ask them with some sense. I say, I just walked out. You can make something up, put it whatever you want in the paper. Make it up. Make it up if you want to. Y'all can play Simpson over there from Westview. Play him on Saturday. Is he ready? I guess he's registered. Like, yeah, y'all can play him. Y'all can play him. I guess I don't know, but I'm sure Young's going to be healthy and play the rest of the year or whatever. So, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Drew, I guess they're going to be 18, 49-0. So it ain't going to make much difference.
Well, I'm not going to go there, but I think I'll go about 41-13.
Okay, well, that's 28. That's enough. So, you had Tennessee fans. A guy went to Pittsburgh this year and ran some Tennessee fans. They were mad because the first game they didn't score enough against Ball State. They only scored 59. They should have scored 80, They got pissed bitching about that. Then after Pittsburgh game, they said, well, we didn't play nobody. Pittsburgh ain't no good, Pittsburgh ain't no good anyway. So,
did lose to Georgia Tech. That didn't look too good. I'll say that.
Well, Tennessee jumps up down there and beat Florida. I guess some dang, last time they won it, game day was there. So, but game day is somewhere in Florida.
Kentucky jumped up and down too because they beat Florida.
Well, that's true. But when you fumble it twice and when you don't stand still on a play, they should have. The penalty guys got called back when you stand still. Like a high school coach last year, he got 4 touchdowns called back. It's bad as me about it. So you don't tell me it's your kids. It ain't me. But I mean, if they would have had that motion penalty, they would have scored about a minute 10 to go, and they probably won the ball game.
It was actually under a minute. It was a touchdown in the back of the end zone. Is what I just mentioned. I mean, it looked like they had scored, and then they threw the flag. I thought at first the defense was offsides, but it's just I thought Kentucky did everything but win the game. I thought they were the better team. They just didn't win. Just like I thought Arkansas was better than Texas A&M and didn't win. That's basically how I felt about it.
Well, that's the way it is. So they got to play South Carolina this week. So we'll see what happens. So I mean, everybody in Tennessee thinks that they're gonna play with Alabama now. Somebody said, well, we'll be competitive with them. With Georgia now, man, we be competitive with them. We'll be good. I was listening to this guy yesterday. Well, I was a top 10 team. And all these people left last year and all this business. So they still think they beat Purdue in the Music City Bowl. They still think they won that game. That's 10 months ago. They still think that. So like I said, we like our adult beverage flat ass can be. We like our dogs with mustard and range balls. We got a new head coach. What's his name? We can't spell or pronounce it. We don't worry about the SEC East much. We just like the fire coaches who win that is. There's nothing like the view from trashy Neyland when you got fans dressed up as mustard bottles with the Florida game, and something's happening. When you throw trash at a football and baseball game, like last spring, the guys.
I think Jeff's nervous about the Tennessee-Kentucky game.
Oh no!
I think he is. I think he's nervous. I think he's feeling it already.
Because Tennessee's always been thorn in our side, so it don't really make much difference. And so but
you can't lose that game now, though. I mean, you can't lose anymore if you want to contend for that East.
Well, I mean, you got that right. That's true. I mean, that's true and everything else. So but we're not going to win it anyway. Guy in Wilco says we never will. And you guys don't think we ever win nothing anyway in football. So what's the difference? Will Levis, he's not a big time quarterback now, is he? Because he couldn't beat Ole Miss.
He don't look like one to me, Jeff. I mean, I thought all I said was if he's big time, they'll win at Ole Miss, and he had all kind of opportunities, and he threw up all over himself.
That's true, and they lost. Ain't no question about that. But he's still going to be. He might be a high draft pick in the league. I don't know, but we have to find out. Wait and see on that stuff. But
we'll wait and see.
I wonder how Tua is doing. Y'all hang in there and have a good day.
He's doing better. He's trying to recover.
Was that being smart,
He's one hell of a lot better than Will Levis, I can tell you that.
Come on, you're not going to do that. Yeah. You're not going to sit here and say, I wonder how Tua's doing. I mean, that's not. I mean, that's taking a shot at someone.
All Tua ever did was get hurt in college. He didn't underperform and throw up all over himself and lose to Ole Miss, I can tell you that. Hold on to the ball too long, and he throws it out of the back of the end zone for a safety. Hold on to the ball too long, get stripped. Hold on to the ball too long, can fumble the football because he has no feel for the pocket whatsoever, and he's overrated as hell.
What's that?
And you're never going to win a championship in the SEC East, Jeff. You'll probably throw up all over yourself and lose to South Carolina if you don't get your head out your ass. So, stick that where the sun don't shine, pal. You want to take shots at Tua Tagovailoa, you redneck hick.
That was not cool the way to end because you don't
take a shot and say how's he doing.
I mean that is we all know what he's gone through, and there's not a person in the world that is going to sit there and take a shot at him for what he's gone through the last 2 games. Anyway, we got a comment. I'm not going to read it on air, but somebody wanted Jeff off the air, so he's gone.
Oh man, it's a stupid comment to make, man. Don't take shots at somebody who has had a head injury or even a hip. I mean, come on. We kicked the guy off the show for a couple of months because of some stupidity he said. So, I mean, he just doesn't know when to zip it, Well,
it's a good thing. He's right. Kentucky's not going to win the East, so we've got that
Shocker.
going for us.
Basketball practice already almost, Jeff. It's underway, brother. Get ready for the round ball. Maybe Kentucky will be relevant this year and not lose to St. Peter's in the first round with all that talent.
Oh, Vince Ferrara is going to join us after the break. We got to talk Tennessee, LSU. Vols making that trip to Baton Rouge, calling on Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Looks like we got traffic moving again on 565 eastbound. Still some blue lights in there, but apparently all the wrecks have been cleared out of the traffic lane. 72 and Balch Road still working. That one was also an injury-type accident. Someone dies from heart disease every 36 seconds. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue can help keep your heart healthy. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on 2 services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatewitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials. $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints. $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget Sunday brunch with Microwave Day. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
Southern Fidelity Mortgage. Think of them as a loan for everyone, offering more products than anyone else and the guaranteed lowest rates and costs in town. Of the 2,000 loans that Southern Fidelity Mortgage has pre-approved over the last 10 years, all but one have closed. That's unprecedented in the banking business. For FHA, VA, rural development, and conventional mortgages, for the best mortgage experience in town, it's Southern Fidelity Mortgage.
Call Southern Fidelity Mortgage Company at 256-656-5936.
This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now more of Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on your home for Crimson Tide Sports 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And been getting you ready, I guess, putting the ball on the tee, getting you ready for another fantastic Saturday. And if you look at the SEC this weekend, there are some great matchups, and it really gets underway at 11 a.m. You got that 23rd-ranked Mississippi State-Arkansas game, but in Baton Rouge, you have 25th-ranked LSU, who climbed into the top 25 courtesy of that win over Auburn, 4-1, 2-0, against 4-1, 1-0, 8th-ranked Tennessee, as the Vols look to stop a 5-game slide to the LSU Tigers, which we've said they don't play each other every year, so that streak is only at 5. But nonetheless, Tennessee with a lot of momentum coming off that win against Florida, feeling really good going to Baton Rouge.
Yeah, they do. They're coming off a bye week. I think it was a good one for them. They had a good time, and now they're taking on an LSU team that's struggling a little bit offensively, and this Vol team certainly is not. The game was closer than I think people anticipated, including myself, against the Gators, but certainly Tennessee continues to play at a very high level offensively. I'm sticking with it. I still think Hendon Hooker is one of the 2 best quarterbacks in the SEC, and that includes Stetson Bennett, because we saw Stetson kind of come back to earth against Missouri, even though I think Stetson's having a great year.
And Georgia's also missing their top receiver target. They've got some injuries along the way.
They do but they've still got the freakazoid Brock Bowers. Yes. But, again, I think Tennessee's playing very well, and certainly they've got to like their chances to end this streak in Baton Rouge on Saturday. And it's an early morning game, not a night game. We're going to talk about that with our next guest, and he's a part of the Sports Animal, and he's at Sports Radio WNML in Knoxville, Tennessee, pre- and post-game ball IMG Radio Network, and that is Vince Farrar, and he's with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Vince, welcome back. You were Drew and Scott. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm good. Hope you guys are doing well.
We are doing well, and we're not doing as well as Tennessee, though. Tennessee's fan base very excited. Top 10 ranking. They're taking on an LSU team, but the best thing you can say is they survived in Jordan-Hare Stadium, Vince. But I know we haven't spoken with you since the shootout against the Florida Gators. It went down to the last play, but Tennessee survived. Now, the defense, there's some questions because Anthony Richardson played very well in that game, but still offensively playing at a high level.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, they lead the SEC in so many offensive categories, and I don't know that that's going to change all that much. You know, total offense, scoring offense, and passing, all those kind of things. The run game could be a little bit more consistent, but they probably had their best game against a quality opponent in Florida. And yes, the defense is a concern. It's funny. Coming out of that game, Jimmy Himes and former Vol Tim Irwin do a long-running Sunday morning call-in show, reaction show, and I was driving out to my Sunday morning NFL show remote, and I'm listening to the show and all these callers, and you would have thought, if you didn't know the score, they had just lost to Florida. But those same people are looking at what happened between LSU and Auburn and Georgia and Alabama and having Bryce Young dinged up, and look at all those things as positives and say, we can beat them, we're going to beat them, and we're definitely going to beat them, all those kind of things. So it's moment to moment with how fans are feeling. But I think afterwards, the immediate reaction was kind of cringing. We should have run away from the Gators. I think it's settled into, hey, we got scoreboard. Now look at the other teams that look more beatable, and we're in a good spot. But it's still, the bottom line is they didn't collapse in the end and got the W, whereas past Tennessee teams probably would have found a way to lose that game, and they did not.
Tennessee excited that this is an 11 a.m. kickoff, not a 7 p.m. kickoff?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's obviously been a big topic of conversation, and my immediate reaction was, yes, that's definitely a positive, because you want to avoid that peak atmosphere in Baton Rouge. I've been to Alabama LSU games in that night atmosphere, so I know how intense that can be. and then you guys do too. And so I think it's a positive. When you look at the numbers, though, I was a little surprised that there's not this big discrepancy in LSU's record. LSU's 50-10 in night games since 2010. LSU is 20-2 in day games since 2010, and that stretch of 22 games started with that crazy 16-14 win over Derek Dooley in Tennessee in Baton Rouge. So I think there's out of those 20 wins, guys, 19 are against SEC opponents, 11 are against top 25 opponents. What I don't know, and I haven't heard anyone dive into the numbers more specifically, these numbers from LSU's communications, but what I don't know is what the record is in 11 a.m. local time kickoffs. Yeah. So I kind of think that the best competition in that record has been the 3:30 games or the 2:30 Central Time games, and then the Vanderbilts and Kentucky before Stoops and Mississippi State when they're down, they were the ones loaded up at noon. Mm-hmm. So that's where maybe a little bit of the numbers can be deceiving. But I would still take the crowd not being at full throat if you're Tennessee at that time.
Yeah, and I think significant, just like Alabama went on the road without Bryce Young for 2.5 quarters, Vince, and without Justin Eboigbe, who we now know it's a neck injury, and he's being held out until he's cleared by team doctors. That's why he didn't travel last week. We didn't see Darian Dalcourt either due to a back injury, but Alabama had guys step up. But Tennessee didn't have the best receiver, arguably, in the SEC, Cedric Tillman, and still put up big numbers and still wins the game against Florida.
Yeah, and speaking of stepping up, they had Ramel Keaton, who's a veteran guy, a thin guy, but one that came in as a pretty high 4-star that a lot of other schools wanted. It just hasn't clicked for him, and he admitted that, look, I had to step up how hard I worked, and
right.
He's done that, and he earned his opportunity. And look, it wasn't like a lot of us thought that Cedric Tillman spot would go by committee to 3 or 4 different guys, and whoever played the best would rise up and get the snaps in the second half. It was him pretty much getting all the snaps from the get-go. So he clearly earned that number 4 spot, and he made that layout catch that a lot of people saw at the end of the first half in Tennessee's 99-yard touchdown drive at the end of the half, and then double dipped with the opening possession of the second half they scored in. So that was a huge drive. That was a huge catch by a guy stepping in for Tillman. Now, you'll probably ask what Tillman's status is. He had surgery, as you guys have probably heard. Josh Heupel admitted that, which is something because he doesn't really talk about injuries.
Right.
But he admitted that, and as you guys probably know, that's the same surgery that Tua has had twice.
Yeah,
ankle. For high ankle, it speeds up the recovery and getting back. We'll see how quickly he can. I think it's still a little ambitious within a 2-week period to get back on the field. He was limited in practice yesterday, and they're going to evaluate him as the week goes on. I still think maybe Alabama might be the more realistic target to get him back. But look, Brew McCoy, Jalen Hyatt, those guys are terrific. With Alabama looming and you having Keaton that played well for you when he filled in against Florida, I think Tennessee will probably not have Cedric Tillman in that game. But, man, when they do, if he's back to old form, that's as good of a starting trio as you have in this league.
Vince, it's been a long time since we've really kind of previewed an LSU matchup at LSU and then also uttering the same words with a huge Alabama matchup looming. I mean, it's been a long time since Tennessee has been in this position where they're almost – and the fans are reacting, hey, let's not overlook LSU to get to Alabama. We got to win this one first. It's been a while since the Vols have put themselves in this position.
It's crazy. Look, it's probably happening more from the media, those of us that see that there, and I think that helps send the fans' minds in that direction. But, as far as getting excited for it and preparing for it, there's no doubt that opportunity is there to have it really be special, 3:30 CBS or 2:30 Central Time. And yeah, it will be rare, and this will have Tennessee fans as hopeful, I should say, as any time they've faced Alabama. There's been plenty of times where Tennessee fans they're not even as unrealistic as fans can be. There's been plenty of times where they're like, well, let's just get out of this healthy and rest starters and you hear all the craziness, but. Yes, it is an opportunity to have the national spotlight and feel like you have a fighting chance against Alabama, where with Jeremy Pruitt and a struggling offense, to say the least, fans just could not find it in them to think that they had a realistic chance. And they played pretty tough against them last week. But this LSU game, to me, is a little trickier than some fans are willing to accept, because they're just going off of what happened with Auburn last week.
Yeah.
And this is a week-to-week sport, man. You have different teams show up every week, and I think LSU's been indicative of that this year.
Yes, they have. They have improved exponentially since their first game against Florida State, especially defensively. They look much better, and I know they lost Mason Smith. They still haven't run the ball great, and quarterback is iffy. With Brian Kelly talking about, Jaden Daniels getting banged up, but also they've got to throw the ball more effectively, which should play into Tennessee's hands, because I know you told us this, your colleague Jimmy Hyams told us this too. The biggest question about Tennessee defensively going into the season was the back end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the way it's played out. Now they've lost starting corner Warren Burrell for the season.
Yeah.
He had surgery, Josh Heupel confirmed yesterday. So, they were waiting to get him back to try to help them out, but you don't have a ton of proven options back there. It was this preseason competition of a whole bunch of guys. There's not much difference in 1, 2, and 3. Well, they haven't played a ton of guys over there, and so that tells me that there is a difference between the guys they put out there and the others, and the trust factor. So that's a little suspect in terms of being able to find answers. You got to fix schemes. You have to coach around it. You need more pressure from the quarterback, from your front seven, and kind of mask your way through it. And I think the competition helps too, but it's the type of competition where the running quarterbacks give Tennessee problems, and then you get in a bind in terms of where you need to be in your coverages and player and receivers staying alive in their routes and the scramble drills. Well, now they're going to see another quarterback like that in Jaden Daniels. The pocket guys are the ones that Tennessee's look better, and they're not going to see one in Jaden Daniels if he plays. Brian Kelly says he will. I think Daniels, coming into that Auburn game, was completing 70% of his passes. And, yes, some of that is against really bad competition. But if you're going to compliment Tennessee for housing the bad teams on their schedule, I don't think you can just dismiss it when LSU destroys their bad competition also, including New Mexico, who they held to under 100 yards and 2 first downs. So I think you will see a better LSU team against Tennessee than we saw against Auburn. And people saying, well, LSU had to turn it over late for LSU to survive. Well, did anyone watch that Brooks interception? Well, that was ridiculous. He just took it from the receiver. I'm not going to say that was Auburn gifting it to LSU. So a little of that spin for positivity happening, but I think LSU will be better than they were against Auburn.
Yeah, but the problem is Hendon Hooker doesn't turn the ball over. 45-2, 45 touchdowns to 2 interceptions since taking over as starting quarterback for the Vols. Vince, he just doesn't turn the ball over.
He doesn't even come close. He doesn't even put it in harm's way in any way for any DBs to drop potential interceptions. It's amazing. We had Rick Neuheisel on, and he said that's what makes him so dangerous is he can do all these different things with dual threat and accuracy and all those kind of things, but then he never turns it over and helps you out either. And so he has a great understanding of what Josh Heupel wants. with this offense. He's a perfect fit because of his running ability, not only with designed runs, but also in scramble drill. I think Tennessee, though, cannot lean on him too much, or else it's going to wear on him late in the year. They weren't able to run him late last year because they had to rely on him a lot during the season. Tennessee's got to get the running game going a little bit more and maybe pick their spots in terms of running Hooker, and then you can get big plays out of it. But, yeah, that is the concern for LSU, is how do you keep up with Tennessee? Now, to LSU's credit, as you guys know, they've come back from 13 down against Mississippi State and ran away from them, and then we're down 17 against Auburn. So they're not going to flinch, but will Tennessee separate so much that LSU doesn't have the firepower to come back? Also, I think the open week helped Tennessee, not just in getting healthy from a physical and mental standpoint, but because you're not following up an emotional win over your rival by having to play the next week, where a lot of times that can be a letdown. They had a chance to reset that aspect too. So there are plenty of things pointing Tennessee's way with that offense in the open week, but I still think that we haven't seen maybe as much of a down kind of game, a little bit of an off game. LSU's probably the best defense and team Tennessee has faced this year, so I do think it'll be a challenge.
Yeah, in other words, we haven't seen the gut check thing, even though the Florida game was closer than anticipated. And they did have a small one against Pitt, but, Pitt, that lost luster because Pitt lost to Georgia Tech. So you have to just continue to improve. But the thing that's driving me nuts is I know you track the NFL better than anybody. This is driving me bananas. See, I'm sticking to my prediction that I thought Bryce and Hendon were the two best quarterbacks in this league in the preseason. So far, so good. It's driving me bananas, all this Will Levis talk, because that he's a first-round pick, he's a it's driving me nuts. I'm like, this is like Zach Wilson all over again, who I don't think is going to end up being a great player in the NFL. Levis looks great, okay? He passes the eye test. He can throw it 75 yards against air, but he doesn't process and protect the ball like a Hendon Hooker. Why isn't Hendon Hooker getting buzz like this? It drives me nuts because I think Hendon Hooker's the better player.
Yeah, I agree. And at least Hooker, after that Florida game, was starting to at least get mentioned as one of those outer range Heisman candidates. I think it deserves it. I think it's still ahead of Tennessee. They'd have to do special things and beat teams they're not supposed to and compete for Atlanta and all that. If they don't, then he won't be considered. But they're still in a position to do that. That's still ahead of them. So he should be on the radars with Jalen Daniels at Kansas and some of the other players, Brown at Illinois and some of those other guys. So he deserves to be there, even if maybe the NFL people might view it differently in their order because of his measurables. And even Lane Kiffin taking a shot at Will Levis and saying, yeah, our defense did pretty good considering we played the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So I'm sure you enjoyed that. But look, I talked to a scout in the offseason, and he was praising Will Levis too. Will Levis threw at Kentucky's pro day, which returning quarterbacks can do. And so he had a chance to impress scouts firsthand throwing to receivers he's used to. So I think there's an influence there. He's going to wow with the intangibles and all that other stuff. But, man, his decision-making and putting the ball in harm's way, like you said, is an issue for me. And I think the overrated tag is there. In terms of the college game, the pro game, they'll view him differently. But for college, yeah, there should not be a list where Levis is above Hendon Hooker.
Tennessee get the win Saturday?
You know what? I think, alone in this. I'm going to say no.
Wow.
I had Tennessee losing 3 games going into the year.
Yeah.
9-3 to Alabama, Georgia, and this was that 3rd game.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't seen anything different from this Tennessee team in terms of how they have played, in terms of their record being any better. Like I said, there's a lot of things you can point to that maybe are a little bit more favorable going at LSU than you might have thought. But you're not going to be perfect, and that defense can still be an issue against running quarterbacks. And look, Tennessee has had it where players play their best game against Tennessee. That still ends up being a thing. And Keyshawn Boutte has not been a factor for LSU, yet they've still had success. Is this the game where he breaks out? With that Tennessee secondary, it's possible. We'll see if him and Daniels can figure out whatever issues they got going on. But, man, I think if Tennessee is off offensively just a little bit, I think LSU, with their home field, I think I'm going in their direction to win that game. But we'll see. It's certainly not many that have that opinion here in this area.
No doubt. Well, Vince, great stuff. Let everybody know how to follow you and Jimmy's coverage. You guys are going to have blowout coverage. I know you will.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's at Vince Sports on Twitter, VINCE Sports, and then on our website, Sports Animal 991thesportsanimal.com, and then all our Twitter and social media handles. It's SportsAnimal991. So tons of stuff there, including blogs, predictions, all that kind of fun stuff.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, Vince Ferrara there.
Strong stuff, man.
Yeah, let's get a break in. We'll react to what Vince said coming up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
And I reckon the 2500 block of Jordan Lane, that's Woody Anderson, had a vehicle at the side of the building there. That one reported as an injury type. Still got one working on Swangott off 565. It reported with injuries. 72 and Balch Road also reported as an injury type. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. Why not make it safer for them? Move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
When it's time to ride in the great outdoors, you'll find it at Fayetteville Outdoor Sports. Join us this Saturday, October 8th from 9 till 3 for our grand reopening and explore exciting new products from Polaris and Honda, as well as equipment from Bobcat. Discover a great inventory of hunting vehicles, ATVs, motorcycles, and more. Be sure to register for door prizes and don't miss your chance to see the legendary Chuck Berry's motorcycle. That's this Saturday, 9 to 3 at Fayetteville Outdoor Sports on the Huntsville Highway, Fayetteville, Tennessee.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of the Stanton Law Firm. Stan, I guess you are the Stanton in the law firm.
Yes, Wes, that's me, and we started the Stanton Law Firm so that myself and 4 other attorneys with me can help clients litigate, negotiate, and creatively solve legal and real estate problems.
Now, Stan, you grew up on a family farm in this area and have made a name closing on houses and land with your closing company, Jacob Title.
I grew up on a farm which used to be in the country. That, plus having closed on so many homes and farms, one of my colleagues started referring to me as a classic dirt lawyer. Now, I didn't know how to take that at first, that tag, but I realized that's exactly what I do and what I am.
Dan, I know the attorneys at Stanton Law Firm are regular listeners, and we plan to have you on periodically. You and I have seen have impacted this community.
Stay tuned, and you may hear about friends like Steve Booker, Clarence Johnson, Thomas Boyd, and even a few of those offensive line hogs like Hoss Johnson, and maybe you remember some other of those guys too.
I remember Clarence Johnson. He beat us one year. He was unbelievable.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Do you know that your car or truck or SUV may be worth up to 30 or 40% more than it was last year? It's true. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and now is the perfect time to trade in, trade up to a gold certified or blue certified pre-owned car, truck, SUV, or crossover. While our new vehicle inventory continues to build back, our Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles are nearing 100 models to choose from, and a good variety too. Woody Anderson Ford Gold certified vehicles are 6 years or younger with less than 80,000 miles and have passed 172-point inspection by factory certified technicians. They have a 14-day, 1,000-mile money-back guarantee, a great comprehensive limited warranty, 24-hour roadside assistance, and go home with full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. Get nearly a new ride and none of the worries. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan Spartman. Hope to see you soon.
Hey there, folks. Bob Baumhauer here. We're celebrating 40 legendary years here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill. And to kick this off, we're coming in hot with our all-new Alabama Hot Chicken. Fresh southern fried chicken breast smothered in a blend of tangy, immune-boosting herbs and spices with a spicy finish. Served up with a side of homemade smoked Gouda cheese grits, Miss Mary southern greens, and garlic bread. And there's plenty more where that came from. Stop in today and celebrate with us. Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time, or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Gunner's Landing is one of the Tennessee Valley's finest golf experiences. Just 35 minutes from downtown Huntsville, Gunner's Landing's 18-hole championship Jewel is open to the public 7 days a week. Located in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, Gunner's Landing offers you a golf experience like no other. With beautiful Lake Gunnersville views throughout the round, Gunner's Landing is golf the way nature intended. Gunner's Landing's Club Repair Shop offers a full range of services, including re-gripping and adjusting the lofts and lies of your clubs, even putters. Since the work is done in-house, your clubs will be returned to you in a timely manner. Unmatched in the North Alabama area, it is Gunner's Landing. Schedule your tee time today at gunnerslandinggolf.com. That's gunnerslandinggolf.com.
As the Atlanta Braves battle for another postseason run.
Throw comes in, and it got him! Oh, my goodness, what a throw!
It's also the start of football season. We've got you covered right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Back, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone, and Vince Ferrara there with us.
Yep.
And he believes he's probably alone in Knoxville, as he said, but he doesn't think Tennessee going to come out on top Saturday in Baton Rouge.
And it's more to do with, I think, the Vol defense and him having some doubts, and of course it being a road game, and LSU being pretty good defensively, and being able to not completely stop Tennessee, of course, just slow them down enough to find a way to score 31 or so, and I would say win a 31-28 type ball game. I think that would have to be what it would if LSU is going to win. Now, I went back and checked this. We were checking with our resourceful producer, Smokey Mike, who remembers this very well also. This reminds me of 2016, where you don't want to overlook the opponent before Alabama, because Tennessee, during that year, they did play Georgia earlier, and Tennessee won on a Hail Mary. And basically Jennings in the back of the end zone. That was Kirby's first year, won on the last play of the game. And then, of course, before that, they had already beaten the Gators because they had ended a long losing streak against them. So they were one win away from playing Alabama in a battle of unbeatens, and yet they lose in double overtime to Texas A&M and turn it over 7 times and lose 45-38. And then they come back and it was close early against Alabama, but Alabama ended up crushing them 49-10. And as Smokey said, they were never the same after that. It ended up getting blown out by Vanderbilt, which cost them the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
So we will see. They need to take care of business here if they want to set up Armageddon with Alabama coming up Saturday on the road. And playing at LSU is never easy.
If LSU gets the win, it would create – Brian Kelly got a lot of heat for that loss, that season opening loss against Florida State.
Yep.
This would – I don't know, it would erase a little bit of that taste. Not that there is a bad taste, but it would erase a little bit of that taste from that season opening loss to Florida State, and it would give credence to what Brian Kelly is trying to do there in Baton Rouge in year 1.
And quietly, they would still be unbeaten in the SEC and be tied with Alabama in the West and Ole Miss. Because both of those teams would be undefeated. So, because the Florida State loss has nothing to do with the Southeastern Conference. So
it just leaves a bad taste. In that
it
year
does
1.
Because they feel like they gave that game away.
Yes,
But this would, what you're basically saying is, and I would agree with you, is this would be Brian Kelly's first signature win.
Yes.
The comeback against Mississippi State was nice.
And the Auburn win was expected, though.
It was really expected to be more lopsided.
Yes.
It was not. This would be a signature win over a Tennessee team with a quarterback getting Heisman buzz and a team that Tennessee that it looks like they could be contenders in year 2 under Josh Heupel, potentially.
All right. Well, Ole Miss got a win Saturday against Kentucky against an overrated quarterback in Will Levis. What are they going to do this week against an undermatched Vanderbilt squad? They got to travel to Nashville this week. What's going to happen there? We'll find out. Brett Norsworthy will help us on the flip side.
This view was worth a hike.
Right? And it's a good way to stay on top of my health.
Yes, I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. Have you screened for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. It's more treatable when caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and it's used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit Cologuard.com.
I'm in.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
And a wreck in the 2500 block of Jordan Lane. That's Woody Anderson. Had a vehicle at the side of the building there. That one reported as an injury type. Still got one working on Swan. Got off 565. It reported with injuries. 72 and Balch Road also reported as an injury type. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. Why not make it safer for them? Move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Plenty of sunshine this afternoon. Not going to be terribly humid across the Tennessee Valley. Actually feeling like fall for a change. Temperatures climbing into the upper 70s and lower 80s. Dropping into the mid and upper 40s as we head into the overnight. Definitely going to be one of those nights when you can leave the windows open. Maybe a couple of more clouds for your Wednesday afternoon. We're not talking about any rain. Once again, temperatures climbing into the upper 70s and lower 80s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
With college basketball season starting in only a month, an early look at national championship odds have Gonzaga the favorite at plus 800, with Houston behind them at plus 850. North Carolina and Kentucky each at plus 900, and Duke and Kansas each at plus 1400. College football, Auburn a big underdog at number 2 Georgia this Saturday. The Tigers plus 29.5 in Athens, 50 the over-under. Number 1 Alabama hosting Texas A&M. The Crimson Tide a 24-point home favorite, 51.5 the set total. Red Hot winning picks at experts.winnersandwiners.com. Save 75% on any best bet package with the promo code ACTION75. That's ACTION75 at experts.winnersandwiners.com.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We closed hour one by talking about Tennessee's travel to Baton Rouge and how big of a game it is for both. And this past Saturday, Ole Miss had a similar situation. It was Kentucky coming to Oxford, and it was almost a similar situation. We had to find out about, if this Kentucky team could handle pressure on the road playing against an Ole Miss team who, did a lot of great things, but was this an Ole Miss team that was ready to take the next step forward? And we found out that, Ole Miss answered the call when they needed it the most. Mm-hmm. But now they've got a challenge, and that is to put all of that excitement behind them. Everything that was bundled up into that Kentucky game, they've got to put that behind them, because now they got to go face a Vanderbilt squad who, under Clark Lee, is showing improvement. But when we see improvement in Vanderbilt, it comes in small increments, not big increments like we see from a Kentucky or an LSU or a Tennessee or even an Ole Miss.
Well, I think Ole Miss has definitely taken huge steps forward. I think the game in Oxford, the win was huge because they didn't play their best football, but they found a way to win. And I think their defense, even though they lost their coordinator, DJ Durkin, who ruined his life and decided to work for Jimbo Fisher, certainly, I think that Ole Miss has moved forward with that. I think Charlie Weiss Jr. has been a great fit, replacing Jeff Lebby at offensive coordinator, and the Rebels are off to an amazing start as they are now 5-0 and ranked in the top 10 in the country. And who better than to help us talk Ole Miss and talk the SEC? Then you can hear him every afternoon from 3 to 6 on Sports Radio 56 WHBQ, and you can also hear him on pre and post on the Ole Miss Football Radio Network, IMG Radio Network, and that's our great friend and SEC historian Brett Norsworthy. And it was great to be on Sports Time with him and Gabe Kuhn the other day and talk some football, and he's with us now. Brett, welcome back to Huntsville. You're Drew and Scott. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me. And another weekend and another test, and that's what everybody has to get used to at this time of year. And I love this Saturday because it's one of only 2 Saturdays that it's all SEC. 7 games. SEC versus SEC. I love that aspect of the COVID year when over 10 games we just played each other. I'm looking forward to the day that we play 9 conference games. I want 10.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah. Brett, what did you mean, you can sit there and say we learn about Ole Miss every week, but what did you take away from Ole Miss that maybe you didn't think about or didn't see early on in the season from Saturday?
I saw a little better defensive line push. It had been good all year, but Saturday it had to be great. And only play that 3-man front. You got a nose man right over the center, and then the other 2 guys are over the outside shoulders of offensive tackles, so it makes your linebackers have to play great. But to get a play from the Georgia Tech transfer late in that game Saturday, and other big plays made. The Central Michigan transfer had a Troy Brown had a great game. really getting a lot of good play from a lot of different players. Otis Reese had to sit out the first quarter over a targeting late in the Tulsa game, and he made a big play on the first play of the fourth quarter that will probably get lost in all the shuffle of the other defensive plays. But he came over the top, not interfering with the Kentucky wide receiver, and he made a big play. Kentucky was good. Will Levis was good. Ole Miss was a little bit better at home. You should win those games, but historically, Ole Miss has had a way of finding a way to lose those. But under Lane Kiffin, it has changed. I don't know what defines a 50-50 game. You hear about people talking about 50-50 games. I think it's a one-score game. Well, Lane Kiffin has turned it around at Ole Miss in those kind of games. Like you think back to last year to Arkansas. You think back his first year against Mississippi State. Will Rogers had a ball in the air at the buzzer that could have changed the outcome of that game up at Rocky Top last year against Tennessee. So Lane Kiffin is really teaching this team and this school, this fan base, how to be winners.
Well, and Brett, I've got to ask you this because you've seen so much Ole Miss football, and I loved him in high school, and we heard in fall camp when we had David Johnson on from Inside the Rebels how good he was looking in workouts, but he certainly has been the real deal as the season has started. But tell me your thoughts on Quinshon Judkins.
Well, seeing him in the spring, he enrolled in January.
That's right.
Seeing him at the spring game, I came away thinking he's really going to push for playing time. Now, with a new quarterback, one of the biggest fears I had, because he wasn't asked to do it a lot in high school, is to pick, in blitz pickup.
Right.
He's even been pretty good at that. Evans is a little bit better at that, and Zach Evans is a really good back. He's not quite 100%. We had a late at the Georgia Tech game, and on that turf there, we had a bunch of ankle injuries and lower extremity injuries, and there's some guys really fighting to get back from that. Corey Coleman on the defensive side as well. But Quinshon Judkins has been excellent, and he's been a pretty good receiver out of the backfield. But how his burst, and that is what is getting him more playing time over Zach Evans. He just hits the hole a whole lot faster and with more ferocity.
He does. He's an outstanding player. I love his size, his physicality. And, of course, you told us yourself in Atlanta, and, of course, we've had you on, and you said that you felt like going into this year that even though Ole Miss had led the SEC in rushing 2 straight years, that they would have a great shot to do it again. They would have the best offensive line they've had. So far, so good. I guess the biggest question, and I thought he played better on Saturday, but still needs to keep improving because of the back end of the schedule's difficulty. But what kind of progress have you seen from Jackson Dart, who ended up winning this quarterback job over Luke Altmaier?
Drew and Scott, I think slow and steady, and key part of that has kind of been slow. It hadn't been the rapid improvement. It hadn't been an EKG machine either. But it's been slow. It's been steady. It's probably not to where Matt Corral was 2 years ago in his first year under Lane Kiffin and then Jeff Levy. It's been pretty good, and I think at the end of the year it will be more and more that you can put on him. He's making some throws where he's really stepping into them. He had an ugly interception on Saturday. He's had about one of those a game. Up until Saturday, I think privately Lane Kiffin's probably loved every one where he could crawl him and teach him with it. Saturday was a little more painful and could have been a lot more painful. But one thing the offense is going to have to do is get more production in the fourth quarter. We've gone 2 weeks in a row in the fourth quarter and hadn't scored a point. Now, 2 weeks ago, the game against Tulsa was super physical. It was as physical as the Kentucky game. They just didn't have as much personnel as Kentucky, and I think Kentucky is really good. It's far-fetched. Let me preface it. If anybody hears and clips the wrong thing out of this, it is far-fetched, but it's not totally out of the question for Ole Miss and Kentucky to meet again this year on the first Saturday in December.
Yeah, I mean, they're still both in these races for sure.
You look at Ole Miss and you look and it's They've gotten that win. They're off to that perfect 5-0 start. They got Vanderbilt this weekend, which we think, you go to Nashville, you take care of business, and then you have an up-and-down Auburn team who right now is on that downslide. Is it unthinkable to think when they travel to Baton Rouge that this team is 7-0, and then you have this Ole Miss team is putting itself in position to be there in the end.
Yeah, Scott, it really is. It's frightening. I think most had 4-0. A lot of us had 5-0. And if you got to 5-0, you got to 6-0 with the Vanderbilt game this weekend. Now, I do want to give Vanderbilt credit. Ole Miss has lost 2 of the last 3 times it's been to Nashville. Now, only one of those trips in 2020 was with Lane Kiffin. But we have had our historical trouble at Vanderbilt. I just got to put it out there because it's there for everybody to see. Okay, so we get the win this week, get the win at home next week against Auburn, and then those back-to-back games, road trips to end the month of October that look very difficult in the preseason and still pose some challenges now, but certainly are winnable. And then that open date. And if Ole Miss could get through the end of October undefeated, it potentially could set up 1 versus 2 in Oxford November 12th, and that would make 2014 and Katy Perry look like a kindergarten playground. It would be so wild.
No, I was there for that game. I was there on the field and saw Katy Perry, and I'm telling you what, that day in Oxford was – in 2014 was probably one of the most, I don't know, it was a crazy day all around.
It really was.
And we had built to that playing not close but competitive in back-to-back years at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Now, had the good game 2 years ago and then just got routed last year by a far superior team at BDS. But that's looking far in advance. What's funny about what we do? We have all these answers in July and August. When we go to media days, we got every team figured out. We get actually in the middle of it, and nobody has any answers. Nobody knows anything when you actually get in the middle of it.
No, we don't.
That is true. But what do you make of Mississippi State thus far? They lost an opportunity with a big lead early at LSU, yet they destroy and mutilate the best team money can buy in Texas A&M. And now they, of course, have a chance to get another big SEC win this weekend against Arkansas, who's playing a brutal schedule. Is Mississippi State the real deal? Because this could also set up the Egg Bowl is always emotional. It's always probably the most underrated rivalry in college football. But there could be a lot at stake for the Egg Bowl as well.
Sure could be on some of these flights of fancy, on some of these wild scenarios. And I think in the end, the scenario that'll play out will be Nick Saban's Crimson Tide representing the West. I do. I think that in the end. I thought it in the preseason. I think it now, even with the stumbles and not looking so good down at Austin. But potentially maybe one of the more famous Egg Bowls ever. In 2014, both teams were on their way to New Year's Six Bowls. 2015 even had high stakes at it, but this year could potentially be a ticket punch to Atlanta. Imagine that. We may need the 82nd Airborne out if that's the case for the Egg Bowl, because that thing always gets off the track really early in the day. And this year, just 30 minutes earlier, but we'll kick at 6 instead of 6:30. So that'll make for the game ending earlier. And the mouthing either side to begin.
Brett Norsworthy joining us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Brett, what did you make of Lane Kiffin's comments leading into the game with Kentucky about the fans and everything, saying, it was almost like a sense of frustration?
He told the truth, Scott, and the truth hurts. He hit the center of the bullseye. Got great fans. Grove, one of the best tailgate pregame spots in all of college football. One of the great traditions in the history of American sport. But we got to get people in the stadium, and they have to stay. He flat told the truth, and he was aggravated. He is aggravated about it. He's already, show me again in 2 weeks. And the crowd certainly helped. Now, that crowd Saturday, and especially that north end zone student section, I think that affected. I think it was helping on those plays made. Now, the play on the field dictated a lot of the enthusiasm as well. But he is growing tired of having to beg for a crowd, and he had to do it a couple of times last year. And his first year of COVID, we know the limitations there. But he told the truth last week, and I think most people understood it and agreed with him. I don't think anybody should have been repulsed about it.
Well, and Brett, I've got to ask you this. I know you and I are definitely on the Christmas card list for Jimbo Fisher, as everybody knows. But is he going to get embarrassed on Saturday night in Bryant-Denny Stadium?
Well, he's already embarrassed. He's already made an utter fool of himself, and it can only be compounded. We had October 8th circled since the middle of May, the whole college football world, and nobody out of South Texas, nobody unless you have A&M Maroon on, the whole country's pulling for Nick Saban in this one. And if he's up 60, they want him to keep pouring it on, because we see a guy that had a good 2020 with the Orange Bowl year, and otherwise has done nothing at A&M. Now, here's the potential spot for A&M. I think they're going to finish bowl eligible, and I'm almost certain, but with SEC bylaws, that you cannot turn down a bowl bid. You must accept. They pure chickened out last year. I wonder what's going to be the excuse this year. Monkeypox, the mumps. What's going to be the excuse this year? Because it wasn't COVID last year. It was mutiny last year. It wasn't COVID.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I just think that he's the biggest fraud in coaching. He and David Shaw at Stanford are stealing money. Shaw, his time has long since come and gone at Stanford. He's making $8.5 million a year. Jimbo making $9.5 million. And
there's always Gus.
Yeah, well, that too. But Gus is at least probably going to be bowl eligible for Central Florida. Probably Jimbo needs to be in North Texas after he fails at this job. But again, it's amazing that his run has been – it's going to end up worse at the same point as Kevin Sumlin's, which I know
At least Frank and Jesse James rob banks with the gun. Gus and Jimbo Fisher do it with a headset and the Waffle House play chart in front of them.
Great stuff right there. Well, Brett, always enjoy catching up, man. I know you're going to have a great show with Gabe. I know you're definitely going to be following the A&M Alabama game, and, of course, Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I got to get your thoughts really quickly, though. Is Tennessee the real deal? What are you expecting in Baton Rouge against LSU?
Brett is gone.
Oh, okay. We
lost Brett. But so anyway, Brandon Marcello put this out yesterday. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Through 53 games, and you brought up Kevin Sumlin and Jimbo Fisher. Through 53 games, Kevin Sumlin was 37-16. Through 53 games as head coach at Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher is 37-16 through 53 games at Texas A&M. Now, Kevin Sumlin went on to win his next 5 to go to 42-16. Does Jimbo Fisher win his next 5 ball games to equal Kevin Sumlin's mark? And if he doesn't, and if the Vegas predictors are right, and Alabama rolls over Texas A&M this weekend, through his next 5 games, Jimbo Fisher will have a worse record than Kevin Sumlin. By the way, Texas A&M at number 1 Alabama, at South Carolina, at 9th-ranked Ole Miss, Florida, and Auburn. Those are his next 5 games in order.
I mean, I don't think he's going to win his next 5 in a row. I hope he loses every damn one of them, personally, because he's a piece of trash, and he deserves to be embarrassed Saturday. And I hope Alabama – I thought it was interesting. Even Nick Saban, if you watch the Nick Saban show, which I did on Sunday night, said that, it's a revenge game. Against A&M, they beat us last year. I mean, it's time to sweep the leg and dominate these guys and send a message to a guy that called a head coach a narcissist when he's a narcissist himself, just like a lot of their clown media are hypocrites when they call other media hypocrites because they're trash. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just saying, well, a lot of times when someone calls you a hypocrite or someone calls you a narcissist, it's because they're the biggest hypocrite and they're the biggest narcissist because they can't tell the truth. They're a bunch of propagandists and they don't, and they can't even report to you what's really going on. And they don't give you strong opinions. And and they're basically, and then when you treat them with respect, and yet they turn around and they throw it back at you because they're trash, and that's what it is, and that's what Texas A&M's program is right now. And it's not even about their fan base; they have great fans. They have great fans. They have great tradition. They have a great university. My dislike is totally with the head coach because the head coach is just absolutely a lying, narcissistic piece of garbage. That's what he is. I don't care. And these guys are finding it out that are covering him, okay? He's not any good. I mean, you pay the guy a ton of money, and he still thinks it's 1998. He hasn't changed his playbook.
Right.
He doesn't have a clue. He doesn't develop players. And just because you buy talent doesn't mean you're going to win because he doesn't know what to do with it. Okay? He doesn't develop it. Jalen Werdermeyer, undrafted. O'Neal, the safety, undrafted. I mean, does Berrien Brown looks like a freshman All-American? Does Evan Stewart, that SOB, can't even catch the football? They're asking Jimbo Motormouth, why isn't he catching it? And he's all like, we're going to work on it. We got to check it. We're going to work on it. Get better. And that's all he can come up with because he's garbage.
Well, speaking of said coach, here he is after the loss this past weekend.
Up there and you urged reporters to check into Coach Saban's background, to Nick Saban's background, and say, what was the intent of that? And do you feel like it
and that's over with. He and we're in great shape. We're great things, and we moved on.
You had said at that point it was over.
We moved on.
Yeah. So things are good now between y'all?
We're in good shape. We're moved on.
Yeah, well, all I'll say is the Alabama fan base ain't moved on, and I'm certainly not moved on. And I cover everybody, and I don't go into it disliking people, but I've disliked Jimbo Fisher since his time as an assistant at Auburn, since he even worked for Nick Saban. I've never liked the guy. He's always rubbed me the wrong way, the way he acts. Just like I listened to some of that press conference, he cuts these reporters off. Shut up, let him ask a question, you dirtbag. Stop trying to change the narrative and act like you can just blah, 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 and talk over them and tell them what to think. They're asking a legitimate question. I will say this for their reporters: a lot of their reporters, including Brent Zwerneman, are asking legitimate football questions. So stop cutting them off and let them ask the question. You're cutting them off because you know they're right, and you're just making an excuse. That's what you're the king of.
All right, I tell you what, let's get a break in, and when we come back, we'll dive into a little bit of that Texas A&M Alabama matchup.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Still working on an injury wreck. Woody Anderson Ford, 2500 block of Jordan Lane, that's near Oakwood, had a vehicle hit the building there. That one reported with an injury. 72 and Balch Road reported with an injury. And Swancott, just off 565, was also an injury wreck. No hose, no mask. You can ask Dr. Sandman, that's Dr. Sandlin, for the medically proven benefits of the Somnodent for sleep apnea and for snoring. Dr. Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Forgiveness. Wow, what a word. What a gift. All of us have done things in our lives that we regret. All of us have done things that are disobedient. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Thank God for his forgiveness. Thank God that he separates our sins as far as the east is from the west and remembers them no more. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison. Check us out at cpcfamily.org.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
What's better than Valley Equipment Rental? 2 Valley Equipment Rentals, and that's just what we have now. The original on the South Memorial Parkway between Drake and Airport Road, and their second location on North Memorial Parkway just north of Winchester Road. Valley Equipment is locally owned and has more skid steers, excavators, and lifts than anyone in the area, plus all the small tools that you need to get the job done like a pro. And if you are a pro, you need to check out the new North location now because Valley Equipment has what you need. Learn more at valleyequipmentrents.com.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on 2 services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
Do you know that your car or truck or SUV may be worth up to 30 or 40% more than it was last year? It's true. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and now is the perfect time to trade in, trade up to a gold certified or blue certified pre-owned car, truck, SUV, or crossover. While our new vehicle inventory continues to build back, our Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles are nearing 100 models to choose from, and a good variety too. Woody Anderson Ford Gold certified vehicles are 6 years or younger with less than 80,000 miles and have passed 172-point inspection by factory certified technicians. They have a 14-day, 1,000-mile money-back guarantee, a great comprehensive limited warranty, 24-hour roadside assistance, and go home with full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. Get nearly a new ride and none of the worries. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan at Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet & Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet & Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet & Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
2 Maids and a Mop. That's all you need to know to clean house. 2 Maids and a Mop is an award-winning company, bonded and insured. Hire them for yourself, or they have gift cards if you want to make someone else's day. Find out more online at 2maidshuntsville.com. A maid service worth talking about. 2 Maids and a Mop take care of everything. They supply all the cleaning equipment needed. Call 256-883-6243. The only finger you'll need to lift is the one to call them.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to Talking Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Hi, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. We're with you until 9 a.m. this morning, and we've talked a lot about Tennessee and LSU, and we talked some Ole Miss. Vanderbilt wrapped up Ole Miss, Kentucky. But the primetime game this week is top-ranked Alabama and an unranked Texas A&M squad coming.
Well, I tell you what, they're not getting their return on their investment because they weren't counting on being.
They were the 6th ranked team in the preseason.
Yeah, 6th ranked. There was
and
people. Remember, they were picked to make the playoff. Remember how I ripped some people?
Desmond Howard has had
Brandon Marcello, who I respect, who knows the college football, covers it nationally now for 24/7 Sports. He had them in a playoff. I didn't understand it
at the beginning that if there was inside the top 10.
Yeah.
There was going to be one team that would not be ranked at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Every year that happens.
Yeah.
And inside the top 25, there's one team, and we all circled that possibly could be Texas A&M.
Absolutely. I thought they were a fraud. I didn't think they had a great quarterback. I think Max Johnson's a pretty good player.
But will we see?
But we don't even know. He's maybe hurt now, and he's been efficient but not made big plays. But when your playbook has got, basically the pages are coming apart because it hasn't been reproduced since 1998, and your head coach has aren't they restarting? What was that show, Quantum Leap?
Yes. I saw that over the weekend. I was like, come on.
This is what they're doing. I
got thoughts on that. You can't redo Quantum Leap.
Well, I mean, it's going to be weird without Scott Bakula, but I'm just saying, look, man, that's like Quantum Leap. It's like all of a sudden they went back in a time warp, took him off Terry Bowden's staff, and just put him out there and it's like blah, 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 blah.
Said run the same offense you ran at Auburn.
And the pages are all tattered, and they're like, well,
they're
Coach,
missing. You're missing like page 19 and 32 because they've been ripped out.
Yeah,
and somebody
you got to
took
go back
them.
go back. What was his name again? The guy that I can remember his face, but. The brains behind the thing on Quantum Leap.
The guy that had the guy that had the little phone thing or whatever. What was his name?
I can't remember.
Well, anyway, why we look that up? Here's Nick Saban talking about getting ready for who?
Ziggy. Was it Ziggy?
Yes. There you go. It's either Max Johnson or Haynes King. How do you prepare?
Well, I mean, we've seen a little bit of both guys. We don't really know what the circumstances of the situation, but we have to prepare for both guys. I mean, we do this a lot, especially when the skill set of the two guys is a little bit different. We have no way of knowing if, 13 plays, if they're going to do something different with him. We just have to prepare for what we know they've done in the past and be ready to adjust in a game if there's something different.
Nick Saban on preparing, and he's gotten a little bit of, Haynes King had some early starts, Max Johnson's had some starts. They've gotten an idea of either quarterback, but I mean, really, Texas A&M, as we always say, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one.
Well, he can't develop any anyway. I don't care how many he's had go in the first round, man. Every one of them have been busts. And don't give me Jameis Winston because he threw more interceptions than anybody in the history of the NFL, and that's why the Bucs jettisoned him and had to go sign Tom Brady. Because, look, B.A. Bruce Arians, who I like and have always liked, tried to help Jameis turn it around. It was 1 year under Arians, and he led the league in I think he threw 30 picks. And they finally said, we give up. We're going to get Tom Brady. And they went to get Brady. And now Jameis has done okay with New Orleans, but he's probably about to lose that job. He's gotten hurt. He certainly hasn't lived up to the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
Right.
Okay? If you go back and look through the annals, who else was the number 1 overall pick that Jimbo coached? Jamarcus Russell. Colossal bust. One of the all-timers. And that's for Nick Saban at LSU.
Yeah.
Christian Ponder, bust. He married up, though. Give him credit. But look, he was a flop as a quarterback in the NFL.
At least he married up.
Yeah.
At least he married up.
He outkicked his coverage there. But E.J. Manuel, bust. Colossal flop. He doesn't develop quarterback. It's a false narrative. He's not any good at it.
Is it not developing the quarterback, or is it not putting that quarterback in the right system?
All of it.
If he changed his system, would the
only thing you can check the box with Jimbo Fisher, and now he's getting even more help at Texas A&M, is because they're buying players. His teams are talented. Okay,
right.
He wouldn't have won the games he won at Florida State or won a national championship without being able to recruit. But he can't sustain. And to be honest with you, he was very lucky to win the national championship that year, because Gus Malzahn should have won it. Let's not misunderstand anything. Auburn was ahead 20-3 in that game. And then the next year, they were exposed in the playoff when Oregon and Marcus Mariota beat them by 30 points. Okay? Jimbo is a fraud. He's always been one. He's always been able to recruit. They have talent at Texas A&M now. Of course they do. Even before they just started blatantly buying everybody with all this, with their collective and NIL, he still was getting top 10 classes. They were good. They're talented. He's always been able to recruit, but the biggest problem with Jimbo is he can't sustain and develop. It is absolutely 110% accurate there. That's why his programs are so up and down, Scott. Because if you look at it, besides those 2 years at Florida State, it was up and down.
He had 6 double-digit win seasons at Florida State.
But he had 2 where they were true national championship contenders, though.
Right.
And that was 13, and he won it.
Right.
And 14, they made the playoff.
In 2012, they were 12-2.
But they lost 2.
Right. He was 10-4 in his first year in 2010.
4.
He was 10-3 in 2015. 10-3 in 2016.
3. You see that constant there? 3-4.
Right.
3-4. 3-4. A lot of losses. That's
but
not a
Texas
national championship coach.
Okay. So in 2018, he was close to winning 10 at Texas A&M. They were 9-4. They were 8-4 in 2021. If he had won, no, I'm just asking this. If he has double-digit win seasons, 2 double-digit win seasons at Texas A&M already, okay, and you could say that they were, would we be looking at Jimbo Fisher differently if in 2018 or in 2021? If they were to gotten to 10 wins in those seasons, would we look at him differently? But being that he has not posted a double-digit win season mark at Texas A&M, do we look at him as being a fraud?
He hasn't done as much, and Kirby Smart's done more in a shorter period of time than Jimbo Fisher has his entire career.
Did Kirby walk into a better situation though at Georgia than what Jimbo walked in at Texas A&M?
No, because Georgia didn't even have an indoor practice facility. No. I know A&M hadn't won it since '39, but my Lord, they've got more money than anybody, them in Texas. They just don't know how to get out of their own way. Texas A&M's got better facilities than Georgia, but they don't have a better coach. And they don't have better infrastructure because Kirby learned from the master. Jimbo may have worked for Nick Saban, but enough of it didn't sink in, man. Yeah. The guy's a fraud.
Kirby Smart, 8-5 in his first year at Georgia, 13-2, 11-3, 12-2, 8-2, 14-1.
Yeah. And then he won the national championship last year, but he also played for one before that.
He's 42-9 as Kirby Smart in conference games at Georgia.
Now,
Jimbo Fisher
the only thing
is
you can
22-13 in conference games at Texas A&M.
The only thing you can say is one thing Kirby's benefited from is the weaker East.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can say that. You could make an argument. But Kirby's gotten to the playoffs and won. You know what I'm saying? So, and he did lose a heartbreaker, and that was an overtime game, by the way, against Alabama. So he was very close to winning. He was one play away from having 2 national championships.
Yeah, that's true.
Jimbo was not close. They lost by 30 to the Ducks, okay? And then they had to be very fortunate to beat the Auburn Tigers. And that win over Auburn is why he's at ATM now. Because I'll just say this, if he loses that game and Gus Malzahn wins it, maybe Gus Malzahn is there. Because the whole reason ATM hired this clown is because they thought he was a national championship coach. And they're going to turn out to be wrong. He's not. He's a fraud.
Boy, it's funny because we used to look at that. We used to look at if you won a national championship as a college football coach, we put you in an upper echelon, or people put you in an upper echelon of coaching fraternities, no matter what. That all changed, I think, with Gene Chizik. I think that started to change with Gene Chizik, and
Ed Orgeron.
And then it went from there. Then it went to Ed Orgeron, and then I think I don't know if Gus has changed the narrative on that as much because he came close, but he never was able to get back there. But
it doesn't mean you're a elite coach.
Gene Chizik, I think, started changing the narrative of winning a national championship and maybe not being an elite coach.
Well, there's no maybe about it because Gene was not.
Right.
And neither was Ed Orgeron, and neither was Jimbo Fisher. I mean, sometimes a season, it's the old Ronnie Staplerism. It's anybody can have a great year when everything lines up and goes your way. You know what I'm saying? Where you get every bounce, you win every close game, and you win a state championship or you win a national championship and things of that nature. To be truly great and elite, you build a program.
Right.
Okay? It's like the Division II version of Bobby Wallace at UNA. I know he didn't win it again when he came back the second time, but he certainly played for it in a blizzard, if you remember that.
Yes, he did.
And he won 3 in a row with some of the most dominant teams we've ever seen. And that was absolutely legit. Okay? That was a dynasty. That is when you're truly great. You're not truly great if you pull one, season out of your rear end. And even Mike Shula, as average a coach as he was, they lost in overtime to LSU, and then they got thrashed by Auburn. But before that, they were in the top, 5 in the country or whatnot. Remember when they beat Urban Liar? Oh, Bama's back. But they really weren't. I mean, he was never going to be an elite coach. I mean, he won. To be honest with you, Mike DeBose. It's funny. Every Alabama coach since Coach Bryant has had a 10-win season. I was thinking about this. It turns out that Fraud Phony, and that's what I'll call him until the end of time, Franchione.
Right.
He was a fraud. He actually outkicked his coverage because he did a great job at TCU, and due to timing and circumstance, he got the Alabama job. He's the first Alabama coach to ever make $1 million a year. But you know what he did? He left Alabama to go to Texas A&M, and you just don't do that because Alabama is superior in every aspect and always will be.
But when he
Texas
left,
A&M.
Alabama was not superior to Texas A&M. When he left, though, right?
Yes, they're still superior to them. Why do you think they made a coaching change later and hired him away? He had Alabama, even though they were on probation. Scott, his last year at Alabama, they won 10 games. He ruined his career by going there. He should have stayed at Alabama. Now, I think Alabama benefited because I think, much like Gus Malzahn, he would have been figured out, and then it would have petered out, and he would have ended up getting fired, and they would have gone in a different direction.
Right.
But he went to A&M, and remember all the pomp, all the circumstances. Oh, we took your coach,
yes.
blah blah blah.
Yes.
Just like when they thought they took Jimbo, and it blew up in their face. Our great friend Brett Norsworthy, who was on today, as he always tells me, I have been hearing since I was born about the monster that Texas A&M was going to turn into in football, and they never do. It's just the way the history of the game is. And so,
is there too many external factors behind the scenes?
It's got to be. I think it is with both schools, Texas and Texas A&M. I think they have too many cooks in the kitchen, too many people wanting influence. They certainly want to win. I'm not questioning that.
Right.
And they certainly throw money at it.
Right.
Which is their prerogative and right. And they try to build great facilities. I think A&M has better facilities than Texas. But I will say this about Texas A&M, and there's no question about that in my mind, that they ran from Texas because they got tired of dealing with them in the state, and they saw the opportunity of being in a great league in the SEC, and it was better than the Big 12. And at the time, they were getting more money and still are. But guess what? Texas, they've got a big enough brand. They're following them to the league, and that's why they've been so bitter about that.
Since Texas and Oklahoma announced that they were going to the SEC, both programs are 11-11 in Big 12 games. So take it for what it's worth. I mean, both of them right now experiencing tough times coming into the SEC. It's only going to get tougher. All right, we got to get a break in. Got to wrap up the show. When we come back, your tomorrow's headlines today.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It looks like we're back to a clean slate now. I don't see anything accident-wise on the board. You be careful. We got a lot of folks in last-minute dash mode scrambling, trying to get in on time this morning. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
When it's time to ride in the great outdoors, you'll find it at Fayetteville Outdoor Sports. Join us this Saturday, October 8th from 9 till 3 for our grand reopening and explore exciting new products from Polaris and Honda, as well as equipment from Bobcat. Discover a great inventory of hunting vehicles, ATVs, motorcycles, and more. Be sure to register for door prizes and don't miss your chance to see the legendary Chuck Berry's motorcycle. That's this Saturday, 9 to 3 at Fayetteville Outdoor Sports on the Huntsville Highway, Fayetteville, Tennessee.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-306-8158 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-306-8158. That's 800-306-8158. What do you have to lose? Call 800-306-8158. Again, 800-306-8158.
Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for their 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers their members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including college football and the NFL. They've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and their live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. Sign up at BetUS.com and use the promo code WZZN. That's BetUS.com and the promo code WZZN.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Attorney Tommy Sinyard on behalf of Sinyard Law, and again proud to be a sponsor of All Things Football here on ESPN Radio. My son Bart and I started our own law firm July 1 and are very proud and excited to be bringing you our 50 years of collective national award-winning injury trial law experience. Check us out on the web, sinyardlaw.com.
Sinyard Law, nationally recognized, locally respected. The Huntsville Sports Commission, a not-for-profit organization, is driven by the love of sports. And we're excited to announce several events already planned for this fall, including the Gulf South Conference Soccer Championship, the AVCA Fall Collegiate Beach Championships, the NCAA Division I Regional Cross Country Championship, and the Running Lane Cross Country Championships. For the love of sports, the Huntsville Sports Commission. Find out more at huntsvillesports.org.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Hi, this is Chris Stewart. The quest for a 19th championship starts this fall. Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It is indeed time for your tomorrow's headlines today. And really, if you look at it, and we've been talking a ton of about programs on the rise, not on the rise, and anything like that. Hey, how about, we need to mention, and we didn't get to this yesterday, but for the first time in 13 years, Kansas is in the top 25. That stopped the longest drought among Power 5 teams. So now your longest drought since being ranked inside the top 25, your top 4 teams, Illinois has not cracked